absolutely clear, even to the point of repeating the statement. So we have it repeated again in the next Hebrew, or the next two Hebrew words, and that's not how you spell two, but that's okay, which is lo yisabu, meaning they turned not. So if we consider the letters in the word for not, which is lo, then we see the instruction of Yahweh Elohim. And again, the idea of not turning from his instruction or his guidance is again reinforced. Then we have the word yisabu that comes from the root sabab, that means to surround or to encompass, that reinforces the idea that we are abiding in Yahuwah Elohim, and we're surrounded by his presence, which leaves us with the choice that we discovered in the earlier study, to choose to perceive him or not. And something else that we mentioned in one of the previous studies is that we are abiding in Yahweh Elohim if we say that we're abiding in his word, or in the word of Yahweh Elohim. And that the word debar not just means word, but it also means the commandments and the promises and the declarations of Elohim. Then if we say that we are living in the word of Yahuwah Elohim, then we are living in the commandments, the declarations, and the promises in every aspect of our life, at every time in our life, today, yesterday, and tomorrow. And that from this we recognize that Elohim is our mighty judge that has the authority to grant us this redemption, deliverance from whatever it is we get ourselves into, and rest, if we choose to walk with him. If we choose not to, then it's simply take up your bed and walk, and carry that thing until you get tired of carrying it. And some people never get tired of carrying it, they carry it to their grave. But the Torah tells us otherwise. This is not a book of prophecy. This is a book of encouragement, telling us over and over and over as we go through it that we have a choice to walk with Elohim in our life or not. So the last word of this verse is again belechtan, that again means to go, to walk, to come, or to depart, to live or to die. And once again, the choice is left for us to make, to move forward with Yahuwah Elohim, dwelling in him and keeping his instruction to guide us, or not. The chariot now has a transmission. Do you choose forward, reverse, or stop? And the choice is and always will be yours to make. So this is basically, when I looked at this, I said this is kind of like a little booster shot to the last two studies that we looked at, but in reality it's a booster shot that takes everything we've studied from the first verse forward and reinforces the fact that we have a choice, and that if we choose to dwell within Elohim and to allow him to surround us and to lift us up and to bring his light onto us and be gracious unto us, lift up our countenance and bring us peace, everything that we find in the Baruch, then we live according to his truth, power, and his abilities, by his instruction, receiving those blessings along the way, whether we're scraping our knees because we've fallen down. But when we do that, we realize that, like a good father, Yahuwah Elohim is there to pick us up. I almost said just like a good neighbor, but no. He's like a good father, and he's there to pick us up. But this is the 12th verse of Yechezeqel, chapter 1. And we should start moving pretty quickly now until we get to verse 28. And verse 28 will end our study on on the first chapter of Yechezeqel, because that's when we actually reach the throne, and we'll be talking about the wheels pretty soon. And the wheels are a very important aspect of Yechezeqel, but it's a very enlightening thing that we look at this. We stop looking at it as a crystal ball to try to prove points in Revelation that don't even exist. The Jesuits in the 14th century started this whole prophecy ball rolling, and they did it to protect the Pope, who had just massacred, some people say 70,000, some people say 100,000 Huguenots or Protestants in Paris and the counties that surrounded it, and it was called the Massacre of St. Bartholomew. And it brought a lot of pressure onto the Catholic Church. And so there was a Jesuit priest, and I forget his name, that started this prophecy thing going, and that he started with the book of Revelation, saying that it's a futuristic thing, and this is what this means, and this is what that means. And over the centuries, people started saying, well, Daniel says this, and Ezekiel says that, and we started building this prophetic last days, end times thing. So it's something that we need to really understand, that these little prophecies were given to the children of Israel who were in bondage to encourage them to come out of bondage. These little prophetic books are given to us today to encourage us when we are chained, to encourage us and show us that there is really something greater than we are that can bring us out of the bondage that we're in. And now I'll zip it. Any questions? Okie dokie. Well, grooviness is achieved.